Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Ken SASAE, the president of Japan Institute of International Affairs. Welcome this the 6th Japan-India Indo-Pacific Forum, or 9th Japan-India Track 1.5 Dialogue. Yesterday, we had a very good discussion in closed sessions, and based upon the regional and global development taking place, there is enormous changes now taking place around the world. So we address all these issues, and also we address the bilateral agenda, including trade, economic, defense, and security. So it was a lively discussion. So today, we'd like to have a more open discussion with your own participation. We welcome all of you coming to participate. First of all, let me introduce my co-moderator, the Ambassador Hemant Shin, and Director General of DPG. Ambassador, please, you have remarks.
Thank you very much, Ambassador SASAE. Good morning, Ohayo gozaimasu. I'm Hemant Singh, Director General of the Delhi Policy Group. It's my pleasure to join you at this open session, Ken, of our 6th Indo-Pacific Forum 9th Track 1.5 Dialogue. We do recognize that this is the premier forum for strategic communication between India and Japan. And our intention is to foster even greater policy coordination and to accelerate cooperative trends in diverse fields, security, defense, economic security. We have discussed these issues yesterday at the closed sessions. We have also looked at certain distortions that are disturbing the international community and widening rifts. We've discussed remedies towards a more democratic world order in which dialogue and diplomacy are prioritized. And we have underlined the need for greater synergies to ensure that balance and stability is maintained in the Indo-Pacific. I'd like to just say that we are poised at a difficult and important moment of history. And India and Japan are tied together by bonds of geography, of history, of values, of convergences, and also of the potential to change the future of the Indo-Pacific. I'll stop there. Over to you, Ken.
Well, thank you very much. Now, let me introduce keynote speakers. First of all, Her Excellency, Ms. Kamikawa Yoko, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan.
Namaskar. こんにちは。外務大臣の上川陽子です。第6回日印インド太平洋フォーラムの開催をお祝い申し上げます。インドの皆様は東京にようこそおいでくださいました。私は9月に外務大臣に就任いたしましたが、以前から日印友好議連に所属するなど、インドとの関係を推進してまいりました。私の地元である静岡県には、1980年代にいち早くインドへ進出し、日印友好の架け橋の象徴でもあるスズキの本社があります。また、静岡県は19世紀後半にインドで紅茶の製造技術を学んだ多田元吉王が茶業を営んだ場所でもあります。私自身、このようなご縁を大切にしながら、日印関係をさらに盛り上げていきたいと考えております。さて、今、国際情勢は大きな変化に直面し、我々は歴史の転換点に立っております。ロシアのウクライナ侵略、イスラエル・パレスチナ情勢をはじめ、世界各地で深刻な事態が多発しております。また、日本周辺においても、一方的な現状変更の試みや、北朝鮮の核・ミサイル開発の進展などがあり、我が国を取り巻く安全保障環境は戦後最も厳しいものになっております。このように国際秩序が 多くの挑戦に直面している中、基本的価値と戦略的利益を有する特別戦略的グローバルパートナーである日印両国の連携はますます重要になっております。日印間では本年だけでも首脳会談を3回実施し、二国間関係から地域国際情勢に至るまで幅広く議論を重ねてきました。私自身、大臣就任直後の9月の国連総会で、ジャイシャンカル外相と会談を実施し、地域や国際社会の諸課題への対応について、両国で一層連携していくことを確認しました。本年は日本が G7、インドが G20 の議長国をそれぞれ務めております。来年もまた、日米豪印の外相会合を日本が、首脳会合をインドがそれぞれホストする年であり、引き続き両国が連携してインド太平洋、そして国際社会を共にリードすることになります。そうした日印間の絆は、両国政府の間でのみ深められるものではありません。新しい時代において、経済、社会の幅広い分野で関係を強化していくことが重要です。国民同士の対話も強めていく必要があります。中でも日印間の知的対話の強化は、両国のみならず世界全体にとっても大きな意義を有しており、今回6回目となる日印インド太平洋フォーラムは、そのために大きな貢献をしてこられました。皆様のこれまでのご努力に心からの感謝と敬意の念を表したいと思います。今次会合におきましても、自由で開かれたインド太平洋の実現に向け、日印両国がどのように取り組んでいくべきか、本日ご臨席の皆様の間で活発な議論が行われることを期待しております。ダンニョワード、ありがとうございました。
Well, thank you, Minister Kamikawa, for expressing the great expectation for this 1.5 dialogue. Now, I'd like to introduce His Excellency Dr. JAISHANKAR, Minister of External Affairs of India.
Namaskar. Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. I'm very pleased to address the 6th India-Japan Indo-Pacific Forum today. Congratulations to the organizers, Delhi Policy Group, DPG, and the Japan Institute of International Affairs, JIIA, for bringing together a diverse set of thinkers to hold a purposeful dialogue on India-Japan cooperation. A free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific is at the core of our special strategic and global partnership. And conversely, the India-Japan relationship has the ability to influence and shape the future of the Indo-Pacific. This is a goal extremely important, not just to our two nations, but to others in the region and the world at large. A safe, secure, and stable maritime space in the region is a necessary condition for peace, security, and prosperity. Ensuring that means promoting human security in all its dimensions and countering attempts to disrupt commerce, disturb the ecology, or assert untenable ownership and rights. India's approach to the Indo-Pacific has been shaped by our broadening horizons, deepening interests, and globalized activities. A strong partnership with Japan, built upon our shared democratic values and respect for rule of law, is the centerpiece of our vision. We see alignment between India's Act East policy, our Indo-Pacific vision, and our SAHGAL outlook, and Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific vision. Our endeavor to create an inclusive structure of maritime security in our region is exemplified by the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IPOI. Its 7 pillars address different aspects of the challenges that the international community confronts. We are looking forward to concrete cooperation on maritime trade, transport and connectivity pillar of IPOI that Japan has agreed to co-lead. The India-Japan partnership has steadily broadened in recent years. It is reflected in arrangements such as the Quad, the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative, the Clean Energy Partnership, and the Semiconductor Supply Chain Partnership. We have also joined multilateral initiatives like the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity (IPEF). These are critical in creating a reliable and resilient global economy. Japan continues to play an important role in India's economic growth story. It is actively involved in various national campaigns and flagship initiatives of India. Particularly noteworthy are the infrastructure development, ICT and digitization, energy, space, food processing, science and technology, healthcare, and R&D cooperation. We are working on a shared commitment to realize the 5 trillion yen goal of investment, which is approximately 42 billion US dollars over the next 5 years. Defense and security has also seen growth in recent years. There have been an increasing frequency of defense exchanges. In January this year, we achieved a new milestone through the Veer Guardian bilateral fighter aircraft exercise. We also see scope for increasing defense equipment and technology cooperation. 2023 has also been an important year for both our countries as chairs of 2 international groupings, the G20 and the G7. It was with a sense of exceptional responsibility that India took up the G20 presidency. Our vision of one Earth, one family, one future sought to focus on the key concerns of the many, not just the narrow interests of the few. It was at India's initiative that the African Union was admitted as a permanent member of the G20, and through that we gave them a long overdue voice at such an important institution. Last year was a landmark year for India and Japan as we marked the 70th anniversary of the establishment of our diplomatic ties. We are celebrating 2023 as the India-Japan Tourism Exchange Year with the theme Connecting the Himalayas with Mount Fuji. The purpose of these celebrations is to facilitate greater engagement between our peoples, which would further solidify the foundation of our ties. Today's dialogue is a very good example of a platform that brings together very diverse points of view to enhance and deepen our relationship. I wish all the participants and the organizers a very successful event, and I'm confident that the deliberations will bring out concrete ways to take forward the India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Minister JAISHANKAR, for expressing your strong conviction on Japan-India strategic partnership, especially in the context of free and open Indo-Pacific. Now, let me turn to our own panel discussions. Here, I'd like to begin introducing the participant first from Japanese side, possibly, and then I would ask Hemant to introduce the Indian participant. On my left, Mr. Shinto Yasuharu. He is a senior regional coordinator, Southwest Asian Division of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. On further left, Dr. Kikuchi Tsutomu, Emeritus Professor, Aoyama Gakuin University, Senior Adjunct Fellow, JIIA. Thank you for joining us. Hemant.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ken. I'd like to just introduce our speakers and panelists from Delhi Policy Group. First of all, we have Ambassador Nalin SURIE, Distinguished Fellow for Diplomacy at the Delhi Policy Group. We also have Brigadier Arun SAHGAL, who is our Senior Fellow for Strategic Stability and Strategic Balance. And we have Commodore Lalit Kapoor, who is our Senior Fellow for Maritime Security. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Now, I'd like to ask each participant deliver their remarks in not necessarily long, I hope. And and first of all, let me ask Ambassador SURIE to speak.
Thank you, Ambassador SASAE. We have had an intensive day of discussions yesterday in our sixth dialogue with the Japan Institute of International Affairs on the Indo-Pacific. The dialogue is a recognition in our two countries of the criticality of the Indo-Pacific region for the future of peace, security, and development in Asia, and for the further consolidation of the ongoing secular shift in the balance of economic and military power from the Atlantic to Asia and the Indo-Pacific. Ours are the two most important democracies in the Indo-Pacific, and our values and interest-based collaboration provides a very valuable underpinning for ensuring that the Indo-Pacific is a region that is open, transparent, inclusive, follows the rules of international law, respects sovereignty, territorial integrity of all, opposes the threat or use of force or coercion, and ensures mutual and equal security for all. A region where the focus is on the development of all countries. The war in Ukraine and the most recent horrendous Hamas attack of 8th October were a black swan event, and the subsequent Israel-Hamas war are together having the effect of upending the entire international order, the UN system, and the institutions of international governance, which were already under severe strain on account of underperformance and or the inability to fulfill the mandates given to them on account of decision-making structures and systems that had long ago become outmoded and not consistent with contemporary reality. In effect, we are now in a veritable no man's land on critical issues of international governance. Our dialogue yesterday underlined the importance of India and Japan collaborating to address this challenge and to work towards seeking solutions through dialogue and diplomacy. The Indo-Pacific region is confronted by a major hegemonic power that seeks to overturn the existing largely peaceful order in the region. The intention clearly is to seek dominance by reordering the existing balance of power in the region. There are various strands in the position of the G7 and Japan to face this challenge. These strands are not, in my opinion, always consistent, but are intended to manage the growing competition from China by keeping open lines of communication, focusing on strict reciprocity in economic, trade, and technological matters, and being prepared to meet the military and security challenge posed by their country in the Indo-Pacific region. We in India are at the forefront of confronting this military threat and are simultaneously looking to establish secure and resilient supply chains necessary for continuing our rapid economic growth. This is another area in which the India-Japan partnership gains salience, including, for example, by strengthening the Quad, by strengthening bilateral trade, investment, technology transfers, and the defense partnership to give greater content to our overall strategic partnership. In the above context, the planned Japan-ASEAN summit later this year to mark 50 years of that partnership and the proposed vision for the new era in relations between Japan and ASEAN assumes special importance. Japan has successfully chaired the G7 and India the G20. In this process, we have not only rediscovered the importance of our bilateral relations in the context of the current very complex and dangerous state of international relations, but also that by working together, we can have a positive impact well in excess of our individual capacities. Both our countries recognize the importance not only of multilateralism, but also of multipolarity. The need of the hour is to have multilateral and plurilateral institutions that are representative, just, efficient, equitable, and non-discriminatory. Such institutions must be adaptive and represent the reality of the contemporary world as it evolves. And these must be equitable there must be equitable development of all countries, especially of the global south. The potential for bilateral interaction between India and Japan, be it in trade, investment, technology transfer, student exchanges, migration for employment, defense exchanges, etc., are well below desired levels, and the opportunities available, though the momentum is building, and the message from our political leadership, which we just heard, is to build the momentum further. PM Kishida has described India as an indispensable partner for Japan in the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Modi attaches high importance to it. It must therefore be ensured that this sentiment becomes reality. Thank you.
Well, Ambassador SURIE, thank you very much for covering a wide range of issues, including the Middle East, and also Japan's role in G7 and India's role in G20, and also in the context of leadership in Global South, and all this collaboration, and also Quad and bilateral collaboration, Japan's role to ASEAN and so forth. That was great. Thank you very much for focusing on the major issues we need to address jointly. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Shinto to speak. He's participating as a government official, but here he is participate not necessarily purely as government official. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to participate in this sixth Indo-Pacific Forum today. Also, I would like to thank the Delhi Policy Group and the Japan Institute of International Affairs for organizing this event. It is no exaggeration to say that currently the international situation undergoing drastic changes, and that we are standing at a historic crossroads. In the middle of the circumstances, Japan and India have been working closely together and leading the international community's discussions. We are like-minded countries with shared fundamental values and strategic interests, and we are holding presidencies of the G7 and G20 this year, respectively. Next year, India will chair the Quad leaders meeting, and Japan will chair the Quad foreign ministers meeting. The challenges which the international community is facing, such as Russia's aggression against Ukraine, the situation over Israel and Palestine, and attempts to unilaterally change the status quo in Asia are mounting, and the responsibilities of Japan and India are greater than ever before. With these points in mind, in this session, I'd like to outline how Japan and India can exert influence and contribute to the shaping the future of the Indo-Pacific region. First, let me introduce Japan's effort based on free and open Indo-Pacific, in short, FOIP. Our vision for forging the future of the Indo-Pacific region and Japan's contribution through the Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, IPOI, an initiative of India. The Indo-Pacific region faces various threats such as piracy, terrorism, proliferation of WMD, weapons of mass destruction, natural disasters, and changes to the status quo. Under these circumstances, Japan aims to promote peace, stability, and prosperity in the region by making the Indo-Pacific a free and open as an international public good through upholding the rule of law, ensuring freedom of navigation, peaceful settlement of dispute, promoting free trade, and enhancing connectivity. During his visit to India in March, Prime Minister Kishida announced a new plan to expand FOIP cooperation. This new FOIP plan places multi-layered connectivity at its core, as countries must be connected in various aspects to achieve vibrant growth in the region as a whole. In addition, the new plan identified South Asia, including India, as a priority region for such connectivity. The new plan sets out a goal of mobilizing more than $75 billion in public and private funds for the Indo-Pacific region by 2030 in the area of infrastructure, where there are substantial needs in each country. The government of India launched an IPOI in November 2019 with the aim of protecting and sustainably utilizing the oceans and making meaningful effort to achieve a safe and stable maritime domain. As a key player in the connectivity pillar under the IPOI, the Japanese government has been deeply engaged in this initiative as we organized 6 seminars on the connectivity to highlight the importance of the connectivity across the Indo-Pacific. The development of Northeast India, the nexus between the Indian subcontinent and ASEAN, that is, South Asia and Southeast Asia and beyond, will lead to the development of the entire Indo-Pacific region. From this perspective, Japan has been providing assistance mainly in the area of infrastructure development. To date, our nation has provided more than 200 billion rupees, which is about 315 billion yen, in assistance to this region. Which it comes to the development of Northeast India, it is important to view the project not only as a standalone entity, but also from the perspective of the development of the Bay of Bengal region as a whole. That is, to strengthen connectivity in both hard and soft aspect, from infrastructure to trade facilitation and human exchange, including the Bangladesh. The new FOIP plan also calls for originally linking the development of Northeast India and the initiative of the Bay of Bengal Industrial Growth Belt, which is called Big B, in Bangladesh, to create an industrial value chain for the entire region. In this broad region, spanning Northeast India and Bangladesh, can grow in a unified fashion. The future of Indian Ocean as a whole will change dramatically. As I mentioned earlier, this year is a critical year for Japan and India as the G7 and the G20 respectively. Next, I'd now like to introduce how our two nations with such positions and responsibilities in the international community have worked together to shape the future of the Indo-Pacific region. About the G7, as the chair of the country of the G7, Japan has positioned the Indo-Pacific as one of the main agenda items of the G7 and has been leading the discussions within the G7. As a result, at the G7 Hiroshima Summit the G7 reaffirmed the importance of a free and open Indo-Pacific and publicly laid out our vision on that. The G7 Hiroshima Summit also reaffirmed the G7 members' enhanced engagement in the Indo-Pacific region. Their unwavering support for ASEAN's centrality and unity, and their commitment to promoting cooperation in line the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, AOIP, on the Indo-Pacific, as well as their partnership with the Pacific Island countries. Furthermore, the G7 members agreed to welcome and to encourage further efforts by the private sector, universities, and think tanks to contribute to the realization of a FOIP. This is exactly what the Indo-Pacific Forum is all about. In order to realize a FOIP, the involvement of value-sharing partners is also important. And Japan will continue to strengthen cooperation with the G7 and other allies and like-minded countries towards the realization of a FOIP. About G20. Japan has positioned strengthening its engagement with the Global South as one of the pillars of the G7 Hiroshima Summit. We invited India, the G20 presidency, and the leader of the Global South to the G7 Hiroshima Summit, and have worked closely with India to pass on the outcomes of the G7 Hiroshima Summit to the G20 New Delhi Summit. At the G20 Summit, frank discussions were held on issues such as food security and health under the chairmanship of India. And we were able to reflect the outcomes of the G7 Hiroshima Summit on the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration. Countries referred to as the Global South, including those in the Indo-Pacific region, are facing challenges such as food. This is why Japan had sought to work with India to contribute to tackling these issues in a way that involves concrete action. One of the outcomes of the G7 Hiroshima Summit was that we issued the Hiroshima Action Statement for Resilient Global Food Security, with the leaders of the invited countries, including India, and to express concrete actions there. I believe it was very meaningful that Japan and India, both located in the Indo-Pacific region, were able to work together to lead the discussion toward resolving these issues. In addition, I believe that G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration was also significant, as all the G20 members concurred on the point of adherence to the principles of the UN Charter, including territorial integrity and sovereignty. Japan and India will soon complete their roles as chairing the presidency of the G7 and G20, and Japan intends to further strengthen cooperation with India in these international fora and contribute to carve out the bright future of the Indo-Pacific. As a prerequisite for Japan and India to tackle challenges in the Indo-Pacific region, it is essential that both countries share a common awareness and work closely together on a regular basis. Last but not least, I would like to talk about our efforts to further strengthen the bilateral relations and the contribution we can make to the future of the Indo-Pacific through these efforts. In recent years, the backbone of Japan-India relations has been the multi-layered and frequent high-level contact between our two countries. In order to further strengthen the Japan-India special strategic and global partnership, dialogue has been ongoing on the political front with 3 summit meetings and 3 foreign ministers meetings held this year alone. In addition, the second Japan-India 2+2 foreign and defense ministerial meeting was held last year. Through these opportunities, both countries have confirmed that they will cooperate towards the common goal of realizing a FOI. On the economic front, the Japanese public and private sectors are working together to achieve the target of 5 trillion yen of public and private investment and financing from Japan to India in the 5 years. In addition to these efforts, during his visit to Japan in July, Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Mr. Nishimura, announced the initiative for Japan-India industrial co-creation. One of the pillars of the initiative, expansion into new market in countries surrounding India and Africa, through Japan-India industrial collaboration, is to strengthen India's manufacturing and export competitiveness under the Japan-India Industrial Competitiveness Partnership, and to support Japanese exporters to expand into India, which will contribute to strengthening the supply chain in the Indo-Pacific region. By strengthening India's export competitiveness through these efforts, it is expected that new supply chain will be established, which will lead to the economic prosperity of the Indo-Pacific region, a pillar of FOI. In addition to the areas mentioned above, these are needs for cooperation in various other areas such as security, including defense industrial cooperation, economic security, including semiconductors, infrastructure, including high-speed rail, science and technology, including space, environment and energy, and so on. We believe that progress in each of these areas will strengthen Japan-India relations and contribute to the stability and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific region. Next year, India will host the Quad leaders meeting and Japan will host the Quad foreign ministers meeting. We hope that our two countries will continue to cooperate and play a leading role in promoting peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shindo, especially addressing and covering all these important pillars of Japan-India partnership. One is Quad. You know, India is going to host a leaders meeting. Japan is hosting a foreign ministers meeting. And also there was a reference to this connectivity between the Japanese effort and FOIP. And the Prime Minister expressed a new FOIP visions in India, and that is also connected to India's IPOI, and it's rolling over, and there has been extensive impact if that will be pursued and realized more gigantic way, and that is impacting not only India and Japan but also the entire region in the south, bridging over. Now, I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to invite the Brigadier SAHGAL please.
Thank you very much. I'll be very short, and I have just a couple of points to make, particularly in focus to how to influence India-Japan in shaping an Indo-Pacific. My first point is that the perspective, when we're looking at the perspective of Asia, there are two separate perspectives. One is the continental and the other the maritime. The continental Asia is reasonably dominated by China, particularly the East Asia. It is in the South and the Central Asia, it is expanding its influence. But the maritime domain along the rimland, it is the area where China is attempting to increase its influence, and that's what the PL Navy's expansion is all about. This area of Chinese attempt to enhance its influence corresponds to what we call as Indo-Pacific. And in this, the Japan and India are the two bookends. So Japan is the western bookend and India is the eastern bookend. And the space between the two, unfortunately, is China is attempting to dominate, particularly the South China Sea. And it is trying to make its moves into the Indian Ocean region and try to enhance its influence over there. The other element which we need to take cognizance of as we try to build up partnerships in the region is the fact is that the American attention, as brought out by other earlier speakers, is being diverted to other wars. The continuing war in Ukraine, the build-up that is taking place in the Palestine Israel war, which has all indicators of growing into a larger conflict if it is not managed at this particular juncture. This enjoins upon both India and Japan to look at the balance of power in more critical terms in Asia. This is an important perspective. With the United States attention distracted, this provides a window of opportunity for the bellicose China to assert its influence. And this is where India and China needs to collaborate, India and Japan needs to collaborate more effectively. And this collaboration cannot be standalone by India and Japan alone. It requires integration of the major regional powers in Asia. Some of them we discussed, like Indonesia, Vietnam, and other players, Philippines, who are integral to maintaining the stability and openness of the maritime connectivity and the sea lines of communication. It is here that we need to create an architecture. I'm afraid, despite our attempting to build up relationship in bilateral terms, but in terms of security architecture and even in terms of trade architectures, we are not doing adequately enough. Like I mentioned in my remarks yesterday, Southeast Asia is incrementally coming under the influence of the Chinese assertions, both in terms of economic power as well as this military power. That is not a good development. We need to do something about it. So the architecture which I have in mind is that we must address the security needs. India, we require to deepen economic engagement with ASEAN, and we also need to create a more manageable and credible supply chain management and technological cooperation, particularly in critical technologies, sharing of intelligence, sharing of maritime domain awareness. Here are some of the criticalities we need to address. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Brigadier SAHGAL, especially focusing on these issues of I don't say diverged, but you said the kind of distraction of the American attentions and so forth, and in the context of possibly Middle East and also Ukraine and so forth. I see what you're talking about, all this importance of Japan-India cooperation. I don't say to fill the vacuum, but they are still there. They continue to exert a big influence in terms of their own presence. But I agree with the importance of both countries could work together to sustain, I would say, regional balance power and peace and security. Now, thank you very much. I'd like to move on to Dr. Kikuchi. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador SASAE, and good morning. I'm quite happy to be here at the 6th Indo-Pacific Forum. So already, previous speaker pointed out, Japan and India are jointly engaged in constructing and maintaining so-called free and open rule-based regional order in Asia Pacific. This is an enormous task. We have never seen for the last several decades. So how we should address this enormous task? So usually a stable regional order requires two conditions. One is the stable balance of powers. And second, legitimacies. Then legitimacy means support by a wide range of stakeholders, regional countries and institutions to the regional orders, free and open Indo-Pacific regional orders in our case. For stable balance of powers, we need to do a lot, such as our own effort to enhance our own defense capabilities, but also constructing a security network with like-minded countries. But I think the most important one is to keep US engaged in the regions. So without US continued engagement in the Indo-Pacific regions, probably balance of power would not be sustained in these regions. So Japan has been doing a lot to keep US engaged in not only the defense of Japan, but also security of the Indo-Pacific for the last several decades, several years. So India is now recognized the importance of US presence in the Indo-Pacific. So United States is no longer security challenger to India now, but the provider of security public goods to India. And also to gain the regional legitimacy, we need to provide a public good that is beneficial for the regional stakeholders, countries, and institutions. The maritime security or connectivity, digital economy, blue economy, and so forth. Also, we need to help the countries in the regions to enhance their national resilience so that they could stand up to coercion or intimidation by some countries in the regions. So resilient states is still essential foundation for free and open Indo-Pacific. Our enormous task, probably we require new institution to complement the existing institution and frameworks. And in that context, as already previous speaker pointed out, quadrilateral security dialogue could play a quite important role in terms of maintaining balance of powers and also gaining regional legitimacy for free and open Indo-Pacific regional orders. Thank you very much. I will stop here. Yep.
Thank you, Kikuchi Sensei. You again likewise stress on the importance of maintaining regional balance of power, and especially U.S. commitment and engagement in the region. And it is also good to note that there is, security collaborations underway between the United States and India.
Yeah.
That is, we have allied relationship with the United States. India is not necessarily allied to the United States in traditional sense, but it's becoming more of the security partner. That is great to note. Okay, then I would ask Comrade KAPUR, please.
Thank you, sir. The influence and promise of India. Thank you, sir. The influence and promise of India and Japan in shaping the security future of the Indo-Pacific is going to be primarily in the maritime domain. So my focus is India-Japan maritime security cooperation, where, if I remind everybody of Dr. JAISHANKAR's words earlier today, we need to work to ensure safety, security, and stability. And all three require a different set of actions. 9 years ago, we upgraded our bilateral partnership to the special strategic and global level for this purpose. And defense and security cooperation was a key pillar. We have seen considerable movement ahead. The question is it enough? The Indo-Pacific environment has become far more unstable, with one country seeking to impose its revisionist will on the region. In the East China Sea, unilateral assertion by this one country is endangering the livelihood and lives of your people. Mass incursions by aircraft and maritime vessels in Taiwan's waters have become a daily affair. A former commander of the US Pacific Command has gone on record to say that the South China Sea is under China's control in all circumstances short of a war with the US. And pressure on the Philippines in the Second Thomas Shoal is increasing by the day, threatening regional cohesion. In the Indian Ocean, the PLA Navy presence has increased substantially. As we speak, the 44th Escort Flotilla is operating in the Straits of Hormuz, while the 45th is off the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb, the two vital choke points for energy and trade flows and east-west links for both our countries. An adversarial aircraft carrier task group will deploy in the Indian Ocean before the end of this decade, adding to the coercive power available to this one country in the Indian Ocean. So what should we do? We must prioritize two immediate actions to ensure that bilateral defense and security cooperation has an impact. First, the scope of maritime security cooperation must be expanded from the non-traditional security threats that formed the underlying foundation of our 2009 action plan. We have enhanced our dialogues and we have enhanced the content of our exercises. These changes must be formalized through a new action plan. In parallel, we need to expand intelligence cooperation and domain awareness to include gray hulls and the ability to track submarines while enhancing our joint presence in the Indian Ocean. The other priority area is strengthening India's maritime capability through defense equipment and technology cooperation, as envisaged in the 2014 Tokyo Declaration. Whether this is by transfer of high-quality modern equipment or through joint development of new technology, we have very little to show in this direction. The solution, to my mind, lies in manufacturing equipment jointly in India, not just for India's much larger market, but also for export to countries of the global south thus undercutting a significant tool of China's growing influence. It is this cooperation that holds the largest potential to transform our partnership into one which will truly impact the region and make it a truly special and strategic global one. It is slow progress in these two areas that jeopardizes our vision for our free and open Indo-Pacific. So if we are serious about FOIP, this is what I think we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade KAPUR. This discussions on Japan-India defense and security collaboration, we had a very deep discussion yesterday, and there was great interest expressed, to some extent even concern on the pace of this collaboration, especially in the context of defense technology and assets, collaboration. You were mentioned about this joint potential joint manufacturing, cases, and but I think we are at the same time trying to open up a new horizon for the arms export readiness to be more seriously engaged in regional security architecture. So I take note of your reference to the importance of this non-traditional to more traditional security collaboration, and also intelligence and maritime domain awareness. These are very important issues. I'm sure that the two countries will continue to address all these important questions. Now, since the speaker address their own agenda or perspective, now I'd like to make the floor open. There are a couple of questions already are given to us. This is an anonymous question from the audience. The first question is, what is the role of India and Japan in the Quad? What and how can they deliver through the CAP? These issues were more or less addressed by the audience, I think, in the remarks. But is there anything for the participant to add in this context? What the Quad can do more? I mean, is there any opinion, possibly more in the context of security and defense? Because over this issue, there was some sensitive part. But still, I think, although this is open for, we could address this question if you have any further thoughts on this one. Perhaps, Hemant, you want to say anything?
Yeah. I will just very briefly comment that that Quad is a factor of providing regional public goods and regional reassurance to nations, giving them options, and affirming to them that the rule of international law and the purposes and principles of the UN Charter will be applied uniformly across the region. And we want a region which is free from coercion, where all countries, big and small, can prosper. So the Quad has a very wholesome overall impact on the region. Respect for the Quad, acceptability of the Quad is increasing in Southeast Asia, which is the most important part of the region connecting India to Japan through the maritime. We also have some security-linked initiatives coming up in the Quad. We all know that in the realm of non-traditional security, the Quad has principles for HADR interventions and for strengthening immediate response together. We also know that the Quad is advancing the IPMDA, which is the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness Initiative. It's coming through from the Western, from the Pacific side towards Southeast Asia, And the intention, of course, is to also include and cover the islands of the Indian Ocean so that there is greater realization of the security benefits which are provided by the Quad. So overall, I think at this juncture, there is need to further implement the decisions taken at the last Quad summit to increase our complementarity with and support for regional institutions which already exist, which is ASEAN, IORA, and PIF. So I'll stop there. I think we are doing a lot, but on maritime security and other issues, I think the colleagues can further add to this.
Want to add anything? Okay.
I think the basic issue is that, like the ambassador said, we need to strengthen cooperation in IOR and IORA, as also in the regional domain. See, the main important issue is that we also have to upgrade and make faster development technology and supply chain initiatives are slow to take off. So we need to focus on these initiatives, particularly to Southeast Asian countries who are becoming a dominant export destination for China. So if we are talking about de-risking supply chains, there's an important necessity for us to have a greater degree of engagement, as mentioned by Ambassador, with Southeast Asia. And also, to maintain balance, we need to do more exercises. And in this regard, India has started, as you are aware, that we did a major maritime exercise with the ASEAN. We have a major exercise with Philippines recently. So India has started to move its footprints into the South China Sea. So it's important that this similar kind of complementarity is done by the other Quad partners in terms of moving their footprints both into the Southeast Asia, South China Sea, and into the Indian Ocean region, in particular Bay of Bengal. So this is an area that we need to focus upon. So there needs to be a greater visibility of Quad in this region in terms of flying the flag, so to say, as a matter of reassurance to the regional partners.
Well, thank you. That's great to note that India's growing and actual interest in being engaged in the peace and security is southern part of Asia, beyond the Indian Ocean. And that is something we need to be mindful. Now, I'd like to take in this moment to shed the light on the India's strategic relationship with the United States, because I think obviously there is some defense collaboration underway. There were 2+2 meetings and so forth. So could Indian participant introduce what's happening on your relationship with the United States to the Japanese audience today?
Let me just say a couple of things, and then my colleagues can supplement. We just had the India-United States 2+2 meeting in the previous week in Delhi. The across the board strengthening of a strategically oriented comprehensive partnership between India and the United States is going on and accelerating. Security is an important element of that cooperation, and so is defense, and so is diplomatic coordination and consultation. So across the areas which cover the geopolitics of the Indo-Pacific, or rather the globe, to the regional security issues, to the strengthening of our defense ties, defense exercises, every area is being progressed. What is at the heart of this? So in short, the heart of this progress through the 2+2, is the mutual reinforcement through the strengthening of India's defense capabilities, indigenous Indian defense manufacturing, so that India can not only better provide reassurance and deterrence for itself, but also have the same impact across the region and all the countries of the region of the Indian Ocean, and spreading in from the Indian Ocean into Southeast Asia can benefit from that. That progress has been quite remarkable over the past year. And the second element is a government-led initiative on critical and emerging technologies. And these encompass not just the civilian areas of development of critical technologies, but also the defense areas of technologies. And this initiative is actually government-led by the two NSAs of India and the United States, and it has very senior, high-level private sector participation in it. And through this, we've seen major results already. We've seen massive investments on both sides happening in emerging technology areas, from India to the United States and from the United States into India, including semiconductors. I think this progress is going to continue because it's a program which is regularly led and monitored at a very high level within the government on both sides. So I must say that we are looking better and better in terms of working to ensure that India and the United States have a mutually reinforcing impact on all issues related to the well-being of the Indo-Pacific. Any other points which my colleagues want to make?
Yes, we, some very important steps have been taken. Like, for example, we are sharing technologies on G414 engines. This is a very important critical step for. In addition to that, we are also looking at developing supply chains for major armament systems. Stryker is one which is now being discussed. We're looking at MQ-9Bs, not only purchase of MQ-9B, but replenishment, refurbishment, and starting supply chain component development, etc., in India. So there is a huge effort to develop an Indo-centric defense supply chain, which was not India-centric alone or India's capability enhancement, but will also support similar systems in the region. So that's an important part. So it's not going to be just to say that it's India is going to benefit. It will be a regional benefit situation where that these systems which are being developed and all jointly being produced would help everybody in the region. Then the next element is the MRO, repair organizations. The American ships have started coming into our ports and our shipyards for refurbishment. Then there is this whole big initiative of sharing information intelligence and credible intelligence, so that the domain awareness, regional awareness, etc., becomes that much more possible. The initiatives with the Americans are, I just want to highlight this fact, do not cover only the maritime domain, they also cover the continental domain. And the continental domain, our initiatives basically are in terms of providing our situational awareness, ISR as they call it. That initiatives are very strong, and that's so. In short, our joint collaboration with the United States in terms of technology transfer, etc., are a part and parcel of credibly enhancing India's capabilities to be an important regional player in the Indian Ocean region and to deal with the Chinese assertions in this place, as also tomorrow as capacities enhance and our other programs, our submarine and other programs go on board, we will be able to play a much broader regional role. So that's the whole issue.
Okay, before asking Ambassador SURIE to speak, let me make a bit of comment on what you said, SAHGAL-san. What's happening between India and the United States on this defense collaborations, including asset transfer and joint technology development collaboration. I'm talking about defense and military. Not, of course, there are some aspect of private business engineering, of course, but I'm basically addressing this military and defense technology things. You know that Japan is now seriously addressing these issues of restrictions on the arms export, and that would of course include some sensitive technology and so forth. But you think that the United States is proceeding ahead of Japan in the context of this bilateral defense collaboration. So what do you expect Japan to do more in the context of strengthening this strategic relationship with India?
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the broader implication of the 2+2 dialogue between India and the United States. I think it reflects a long-term stability in the strategic partnership. It's taken us a while to get here. And to put it in context, we can draw lessons from where we've reached with the United States in developing the relationship with Japan in a much faster time frame. I think it's taken us time to explain to the Americans how important it is to transfer technology and to build in India. We're not going to compete with them in other markets. We will be doing this together. I think this signaling of the 2+2, and please bear in mind that the last 2.2 happened in the midst of the problems of the Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas war. Nothing is disrupting this process. And the impact of the last set of agreements, including, as Brigadier SAHGAL talked about, the transfer of technology for the GE414 engines, I think is a very quantum leap in the trust that has now begun to permeate through the India-US defense and security partnership. I think that is the important signaling. And it seems to me that this now transcends the bipartisan divides on other issues in the United States. Both the conservatives, and the Republicans and the Democrats are on board on this issue. And obviously it takes a serious threat to bring such matters to this kind of collaboration levels. But I think this is no longer a short-term partnership. At least we don't see it that way. We see this as a long-term partnership. We've come a long way in the relationship with the United States. It's never been a very clear or easy run. It's not an easy run, frankly, even now. But I think there is understanding on both sides that, the obstacles will keep happening. There will be political disturbances based on domestic considerations. But the long-term trend is stability and a very strong partnership going forward. And this is not simply because of the threat of one particular country. I think this is part of the process of a recognition in the United States that the balance of power is shifting from the Atlantic to the Pacific or to the Indo-Pacific. And they need to look for new partners which have common values and interests. We can always disagree on which values and which interests are more important at a particular point in time. But I think the underlying agreement is now a solid ground. And I think that is the importance of this agreement.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador SURIE, especially your last point, the growing importance of India in the context of maintaining balance of power. So in that sense, traditionally, you were sort of, I don't say on our camp in terms of maintaining a free and open democratic institution in this part of the region, while you are maintaining your own independent policy, multipolar policy. Yeah, that remains. I mean, that's the important part, because I don't want to mislead the Japanese audience that you are becoming more on our own camp per se, but you are still open to the other, legs and hands around you. I think that is important part of proper understanding on the part of Japanese public. Mhm. Now, I think time is running. Anybody to say something before concluding the decision? You want to say anything? You come from the government, so say something. Say a few words, whatever you want to say.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'm in a position to oversee the entire South Asian region, and the like mentioned in the question, Quad is an important part of the collaboration between Japan and India, and the already previous panelists are mentioned frequently that we have number of the collaboration instance, like the 2+2 and the joint staff meeting of the self-defense force and the Indian military. So new development is going on in every sector, and the multi-layered. So in a different sector, relationship between the India and Japan is becoming more important. Thank you.
Kikuchi-sensei?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. After Kikuchi-sensei.
Yeah,
please.
as for the regional security role of Japan and India, we, I would introduce quite quite interesting, development in Southeast Asia. So not only Japan, but also, not only Japan and India, but also, together with the other like-minded country like US, or Australia, and Canada, and some other, countries. They are, on the individual basis, deeply engaged in providing security assistance to the frontline states like Vietnam and Philippines. So, now we are seeing multi-layered defense supporting activities by the like-minded country to those to frontline states the over South China Sea and so forth. And so this is I'm not sure this is coordinated or not, but anyway, this is a quite interesting development we are seeing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Kikuchi-sensei. I guess that this invisible hand of God are guiding us. Hemant, you have.
I just wanted to complete the answer to the question which you had raised about India and Japan, and I won't be long. I'll just say that in the context of what we just heard, my colleagues mentioned, Ambassador SURIE mentioned about the long-term perspective of continued development of India-United States relations, and your question was related to what India and Japan can do. I think we need to be laser sharp in our focus. There has to be greater presence of our maritime forces. That should include not just each other's regions on one side, but also Japanese presence in the Indian Ocean. The second is higher levels of interoperability in exercises. The more we develop this on the bilateral front, like we have with the United States, the better it will be for us. And the third is not just maritime domain awareness in general, but also underwater domain awareness and the technologies which go along with underwater domain awareness. And the last area of synergy I think we need to step up on is defense equipment and technology sharing. And I think we're trying our best to make a breakthrough. Hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Well, Hemant, thank you very much. That would possibly conclude this session. I want to thank you all the participants, including the audience participating online. Now, let us conclude and sign the joint statement of the thought. Just. I hope the audience could read. That'll be online, JIIA and DPG online, right? Yeah, the homepage. Okay, here you go.
If you both look up for a second, perhaps you can take a better picture.
Okay, sure. Right. Okay, let's shake hands like this. All right. Oh, good. Okay, all right. Okay, great. So this would end the of this open sessions. And once again, I want to thank all the participants. There was a good discussion taking place. I wish you have a good day. Okay.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much, Ken. Let me also add a word of thanks to the Japan Institute for International Affairs and you personally for hosting us in Tokyo. We very much look forward to welcoming you to India next year. And we also are grateful for the support of the Ministry of External Affairs on the Indian side and Gaimusho on the Japanese side for the continuation of this premier forum for strategic communication between us. And I do think that we've made a contribution last day and a half to the ideas which may propel faster progress in our relations. And I think we should continue to work together even more closely as the years go. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.